Netflix, which I was just talking about, Tubi, the streaming service Tubi, did a study recently where they have found out, shocking to everyone, I'm sure, that Gen Z does not want to see remakes and reboots. They want to see original content, and they want to feel, more importantly, like they're working and supporting like small creators, right?
So basically Disney screwed on both fronts there.
Yes.
That's great. Okay.
Well, it's actually not just Gen Z. It says 74% of millennials and Gen Zers prefer to watch original content rather than franchises or remakes. Viewers are increasingly seeking fresh and innovative ideas that push boundaries of what's possible instead of rehashed versions of existing stories.
Yep.
So of those young kids, 71% also want content produced by independent and small-time creators, and they want to feel like they're directly supporting the creators by watching the film or show. A nearly equal percentage say they value diversity and representation among the creators who populate content on streaming services. So,
do they really, though?
Do you want merit or do you want diversity? You can only pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to be real with you, Gen Z.
It can be done quick, it can be done cheap, and it can be done well. You can only pick
They sound so naive about the world, you know? Like they
I really wonder, do they really believe that, though, or are they saying that because it's a survey and they feel like, well, this is what you kind of have to say nowadays. I don't want people to think I'm a racist.
It depends on the phrasing. It's like, do you like diversity? From a scale of 1 to 5,
right.
How well do you like diversity?
Yeah,
you're
like
gonna
a push poll.
You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm a good person. I'm gonna check yes on that one. So it's not quite clear. And it said 89% of Gen Z want a library that offers a wide array of content, from true crime stories to classic Hollywood films to one-season wonders. But I guess that made me think of original content that Gen Z likes. Let's think about this.
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. Okay, what else? PewDiePie. What else?
Stranger Things. I mean, stuff like that have been big. It's original
kick
content.
streamers.
Yeah. No, I think Mary's right. I think what it is, what they don't realize is it's not going to be an original content. It's going to be independent streamers and content creators and not stuff. So what the studios are going to have to do is they're going to have to start filing and making these, they're going to have to try and manufacture and create a world full of industry plants with all the money, you know, kind of shadow pushed into these businesses where you don't realize that the guy's actually astroturfed.
Well,
right?
a point that they're underselling here is that obviously Gen Z doesn't care about a remake of The Crow, for instance, because that wasn't part of their upbringing or their cultural zeitgeist. Okay, so with all of these remakes and reboots and sequels and spin-offs and blah, 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 it's all content IP that was made and that was popular before they were even born or before they were even culturally conscious. So why would they care about any of that content? I had never heard about Willow. I'm not lying.
Right. Well, that's why they say when they do these things, we're going to reimagine this for modern audiences. And usually what that turns out is we're going to take something, like you said, that this generation didn't grow up with, has no point of reference with, doesn't care about, and then try to put like a hip new Gen Z skin on it or whatever. I mean, whatever the hell.
It worked for Wednesday. I will say that. It worked for Wednesday.
It did, but I mean, that was even something to the point where it's so out of the norm, right? Because it's the Addams Family. So you can kind of take that and mess with it. But if you're looking for, you know, shows that exist or that could exist in the real world or something like this, and they try to remake some of these things, like some of the older TV shows or some of the older movies, I just think they go off like a lead balloon because they don't need to be doing this. And I think to that extent, they're right. I would love to see the actual survey, like the crosstabs. What did Tubi actually ask, like you said? How did they present the question? What was the demographic breakdown, the ages, ethnicity, and all this of the respondents to this survey? What was the sample size, I guess? Well, it says 2,503 adults age 18 plus in the U.S., so we know that. But it doesn't tell us anything else. I'd love to see what kind of the exact wording of the questions, like you said. So how do you wind up with these responses? Because that's what's usually telling.
Do you subscribe to a lot of the streaming services or just a few?
I've got Netflix. I've got Hulu. I've got Peacock, Paramount Plus.
It's a lot.
HBO Max is part of a cable subscription. Yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of the stuff. I mean, I don't mind the $5 a month subscriptions. Tubi is an AVOD service, so it's free. Anybody can go watch that.
I've been watching a lot of Roku TV lately.
Yeah, Roku's another AVOD.
One of the things I found interesting about Roku is depending on how old the show is, I think it has to do with age. There's less ads on the even older shows. So like a show that's...
Because they can't sell them.
Yeah, so the shows that are more recent will have 5 ads on them, like not watching that. But if it's got 3 and they're like 25-second ads... I can swing that. Even me, and Mary knows I'm on a one-man jihad against ads. I despise ads. I hate being shown ads. But most of the time when I'm watching their ads, it's literally an ad for Roku. So,
yeah.
they're heavily advertising the Spiderwick Chronicles remake that they're making right now, and that's the majority of what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. If I could find a service that's like, we're like ads light, where we just show you 3 25-second ads, but I'll give you access to all these old shows that you like that just can't be sold. And like one of them, for instance, is the television version of the Dresden Files, which I might be the only person in history who ever actually watched it, like who liked that show, because it's nothing like the book. It only went 11 episodes or 12 episodes, but it's impossible to find anywhere that's on like a paid service. The only places that have it are free, are ones that have ads.
And I hate to tell you, if you want to continue to be able to get those kind of shows on streaming, then you're going to have to get used to ads, because otherwise nobody else is paying for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, even though they're old, most of these places like Tubi and whatever else, they're paying somebody like Warner Brothers for a library, a block of their library. Like, here's 27 shows we're not doing anything with on Max right now. We're just sitting there collecting dust, and they make a package deal for something like Tubi to get them. Same thing with Disney or Paramount or anybody else. So, I mean, they still got to pay millions of dollars to get these things to put on the platform, so they've got to sell some kind of advertising so they can pay to get these shows. I mean, that's why they're there.
The only original shows that I can think of right now that are popular with Gen Z are The Bear and Euphoria. Is there anything else?
And true crime. Anything true crime related.
Maybe Dahmer.
Dahmer was good.
Based on a person, not an IP. So,
but still very, very popular.
The one that had like 5 different titles on Netflix.
The
Dahmer.
Oh yeah, for the most part, I think a lot of it is they're watching content creators, and they're not watching as much terrestrial television, and they're not watching as much cable television.
They said that they are primarily going to streaming services to watch nostalgia content. 96% of streaming audiences surveyed that they want nostalgic content.
Severance was popular.
The Office or Friends.
Thank you.
Oh, I did love Severance. Yeah.
Severance is popular.
Yeah, stuff like The Office and Friends, the nostalgia stuff. But I mean, you don't have to remake it; it's already there. Yep. You know.
Do you think they will venture to actually do reboots and remakes of those?
Yes.
I mean, they are actually doing that for The Office. They're doing a female-led The Office in Australia.
That starts like this month.
Good luck with that.
Maybe we should review it.
I'm not listening to an Australian accent. No, I'm not doing that.
And then
Arnar.
And then there's a different Office reboot, right?
Yes, there's one here being made as well. There's a $20 super chat here from Luscious Lucian with no message. Thank you so much for that.
Thank
you. In fact,
you.
I'm going to heart it. I keep forgetting you can heart super chats.
That was your first super chat. Thanks. That means a lot to us.
Yeah, like I see this stuff, and the ad tier is making more sense to me now with the ability to watch all of these old shows. I recommended people last weekend watch the Xander Berkeley show, The Booth at the End, The Man at the End, The Booth at the End, excuse me, which is on Roku with just 2 ads per episode, and they're about 22 minutes long.
The issue is, for each streaming service, you can think of like a couple shows that you like on it, and then you're supposed to pay for all of them. Like, it's just, you're asking for a high investment from the viewers, and they get so little in return. And especially since we're talking about Gen Z and millennials, they're constantly complaining about how they can barely afford food and rent. So that's an especially hard audience to earn.
I think that the stuff like the studio streaming services, right? And specifically, let's talk Universal with Peacock and Paramount with Paramount Plus. Probably not so much for like your generation, Mary, but mine, what's cool about it is for $5 a month on each of these is that they have a tremendous library of all their studio content of movies for the last 50, 60, 70 years. There's a lot of stuff on there. So a lot of times...
Until they decide to take it off.
Until they decide to take it off. But I mean, it's their own product. So I mean, there's nothing forcing them to take it off.
Or until they decide to edit it retroactively.
That could be, but I haven't seen Peacock and Paramount really dive into that too much. But that being said, it's cool because you've got that library there of older movies, a lot of stuff that, you know, I grew up with watching with my dad, stuff that he watched when he grew up. So there's a place for it. Now, as time goes on and they kind of flesh some of those libraries out, there might be some more interest. But yeah, you're right. Most of their original product that they're making on those kind of things, probably not that engaging to the Gen Z and the millennial types.
I mean, especially Disney, they know that they're not making content for Gen Z. Yeah. And they're okay with it.
They think they are, but they're not.
Well, no, I don't even know if they think they are, because they're making these parks for the dinks, the dual income, no kids, Disney adults.
Yeah, which is dangerous because they're going to run out at some point.
And they're making the Star Wars for them. They're making the Marvel content for them. Mm-hmm. Okay, like none of this appeals to Gen Z, even if they would flatter themselves to think Gen Z cares at all. Mm-hmm. But think about it, like, is Gen Z going to watch Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny? No. Mm-mm. They don't care about that. Are they going to watch Jurassic World even? No. They don't care about that. They didn't grow up with that. Yeah. I know that from experience. Maybe I'm the weird one, but...
No, I think if you make it...
They loved Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I did too.
Like, that's an exception because they grew up with that. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the industry is only catering to nostalgia for the older generations, and you're naturally going to lose those audiences over time.
But they're not doing it well, and that's the problem. The reason that
they're
Star Wars...
They're not even doing that well.
No, that's what I'm saying. Think about Star Wars, right? It was around for 30 years, roughly, before Disney got their hands on it, and it was fine. It was bigger in 2010 than it was even in 77. Yep. I mean, they were still selling tons of merchandise on it, right? Why? When they made movies like the prequel trilogies, even though they might have been...
Oh, thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
That's all right.
It always interrupts. Boy! Let's get a fourth one. Come on, guys.
There you go. No, but even the prequel trilogies, even though they were a little campy, it still served the audience well. And here's the kicker. The older generations that did grow up with it, we're taking the younger generations to go see it, introducing a new generation. That isn't happening anymore.
They're not even kids.
The people like me that grew up with the original Indiana Jones, I didn't want to go see it because it looked like trash. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to take my kids to go see it. My kids will tell you, if you ask them, how many Indiana Jones movies are there? I said, oh, there's only 3. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people crapped on the Star Wars prequels at the time, knowing what they had. But the millennials were brought to see the prequels in theaters as kids, and that's how they grew up with Star Wars. There's no equivalent to that today.
No.
For Gen Z and Gen Alpha.
Yeah, a lot of parents did not take their kids to the Disney Star Wars movies.
No.
And if they did, they went to go see the first one, which is why it was so huge, because we didn't know what to expect, right? So my kids went to go see it with me. And then by the time the third one come out, nobody went to go see it.
The reality is those millennials, they were taken to see the prequels as kids. Then they grew up and they went to The Force Awakens with their polycule.
Yes. Their group of, they're just their group of friends that they hang out with, but they're not married.
And then they went to the brewery.
Right.
With their pit bulls. So
that's sadly sad but true.
This is the bleak situation we're in.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.